Hello guys and welcome back. In this video we're going to be doing an analysis of another Peaky Blinders scene. This is going to involve Luca Changretta, who was a very popular character when he came in. I think I can't remember which season it was, one of the later ones. But his body language is fantastic, and this scene here really highlights a few things that I don't think we've seen yet. And I think a lot of people will be happy that we're looking at Luca Changretta. So let's get this clip rolling. First thing that we can see here, this is Luca Changretta, by the way. I'll just highlight it if nobody can see it. It's this guy here, okay? So as he's walking over, watch the slowness of his movements. He puts his hat down as well. We'll replay it a couple of times, but watch how slow his movements are here. So I'll just replay that one more time. Alright, and I just want to show you guys one more thing from this scene. Watch the hat placement. He doesn't need to do this, okay? But watch this. We don't end up seeing where this hat gets placed. Well, we do afterwards, but not in this exact scene here. But what I want to show you guys, let me see if I can get rid of, I don't think I can, okay. But what I want to show you guys here is he could easily have done this with his left hand. He's done this with his right hand because what he's doing is invading her private space, okay. And he puts this on the table right in front of her, around about this area. I wish this bar would go. Never mind. So he puts this on the table right in front of her in her private space. You know, if we were to draw a line down the middle of these two people, somewhere around there, that hat is placed in her, like I said, in her comfort zone as you would. He's invading her privacy, and a lot of dominant people will do this. You'll see this with a lot of people who have good body language. I don't think you should ever get too close, but when people are being dominant or assertive, they get probably within a foot or maybe something like 30 to 50 centimeters of somebody, and like I said, it asserts dominance. I don't think you should do this all the time because I've known people who do this and all you can smell is their breath. It's a little bit creepy. But in this scene here, I think it's exaggerated to show that he's the powerful individual here. This little scene here is very important. There's two things really. So you got to put this into perspective. He's invaded her private space. He's put the hat right in the middle, maybe more on her side, you know, to assert that dominance. And this is a big body language cue. So when you sit down at a table, let's say you're at an office or something, if you start taking items and placing them all around the table, you're asserting dominance of that space. And that's exactly what he's done with the hat, okay? So that's an extra tip. But if you noticed, he's done that. He's got her attention clearly. She knows that he's there, but he hasn't looked at her yet. He's still stayed calm. He's looking off in the other direction. He's taking his time. He hasn't said a single word yet. And he gives the nod to the bartender in order to get him a drink. So watch all of this unfold here. It was a very subtle nod, very, let's say, high quality body language there. You know, he still hasn't said a word. He's just caught the eye of the bartender, just given them a little nod, a very subtle nod as well. It's not over exaggerated. It's not a nervous one or, oh, I finally got your attention, quick, a high eyebrow raise, should I say. You know, it's just a very subtle nod. And he's a man of dominance. He expects people to do things for him. And as I said, he still hasn't looked at her yet. In fact, as we can hear, he's even pouring himself a drink. And again, we're probably 10 seconds into him entering the scene and invading her private space, and he still hasn't looked at her or said a single word. And I'll just explain why that's important, because people will be wondering why. That's important because it shows that you're reacting on your own time. You're taking your time with things. Life is in your control. You're taking things in your stride. But like I said, most importantly, people can't rush you. Everything's in your time. Everything's in your time frame. You're doing things when you please, and you're okay with the silence. It's an unbelievable body language trait.
This is public enough, no?
Yes.
So?
Again, we can see that he's in a dominant position. She sat down, he stood up. He hasn't sat down yet, which, again, like I said, he's trying to assert dominance, especially as close as he is. Like he could have easily, if he wanted to be a proper, let's say, a gentleman, but if he wanted to show good manners, okay, and if he was trying to be a nice guy, which guys always have complaints about, girls don't like nice guys, well, you'd go and sit on the other side of that chair, and you would enter on the other side of the chair, is what I'm saying, and you would put your hat down, and you would probably stay clear. You'd probably turn your body to face her, even though she was still facing forward, making her the dominant one. You know, if a guy was coming over to pick her up, what he would do, as in pick up, game, attraction, he would probably enter on the other side of the chair because he would be afraid. This is what a lot of guys would do, okay? Maybe put his hat down further away from her on his side, on his left hand, and then he would turn his body angled on the chair looking at her, because that would sort of say, like, I want you. That would be quite thirsty, open body language, just to say, look, I want you, do you want me? And an attractive woman might just sit there, look straight forward, and now and again just slightly turn left to answer questions. But in this dynamic, he is looking at her, but the way he stood up and she sat down, he is asserting dominance.
The boy in the hospital's out of bounds, and I'll ask you to spare Finn and Arthur.
And with that?
Again, we can see there, like, how long it takes him to answer questions. This is a very dominant move. This is great. I guess it would be body language, tonality, and very unreactive. A lot of the characters in Peaky Blinders do this. Tommy Shelby especially, and Mosley does it, and Luca Changretta, as we can hear, also does it. And I'll play it again so you guys can see.
Finn and Arthur.
And Madame for what?
Tommy Shelby.
Now this part here is very interesting, because the Tommy Shelby bit, if you followed Peaky Blinders, if you don't, I'll explain it, okay? So in short, she's a friend of his, very close. Basically, they're pretty much family, okay? And by her giving up Tommy Shelby is a massive shock. So you can see his body language changes completely. Watch this. None of what he does in the next 10 seconds is dominant, alpha, whatever you want to call it, or good body language. He's looking around. He looks scared, or at least concerned, or maybe confused. That's the word that we could use here. And his body language is completely different. Watch this.
Why should I trust you?
You know, his movements were a little bit quicker. He looked a little bit, like I said, confused. He's looking around. In context to the episode here, he's probably thinking, is this a setup? Because this just seems too easy. And that's why his body language changed. And I think it's great when they do things like this, because you can see the contrast between what is good body language and what is bad body language. And to explain that point, looking around, looking behind you is a very prey move. You know, a predator has eyes on the front of their heads, prey has them on the side of their head, and that's so that the prey can look around and watch out for predators, and they're concerned. And you know, you get those guys that are very jumpy. They react to everything. Might be a scary movie and they're jumping all over the place. You can imagine somebody like Luca Changretta or Tommy Shelby just not flinching, being unreactive to the world around them. And as humans, we have eyes on the front of our face. That's because we are technically the predators, and that's the way that we should react. So if you're always, we've all seen a guy who's in a bar, who's a bit fidgety, who looks around a lot, and he's always looking over his shoulder. He's always looking behind him. Somebody new walks into a room or a bar or a club, he immediately turns back to have a look who it is. You know, he needs to know who everybody in the room is. These top level men, they're completely oblivious, and that's why it's so good to see what he did there, as it's bad body language.
Because you know our history. You know what happened between us.
an unlikely can't see us.
So he's sitting down here, okay, and he is massively invading her private space here. So he's actually even leaning to that direction. I know he's trying to get himself up on the seat, but continue to watch, like this kind of the line between them, continue to watch throughout this next, I'd say 10 seconds or so, and watch how close he really gets to her. It's quite uncomfortable, but if you were trying to attract a woman, the fact that you're willing to get close, you know, she'll tell you if she doesn't want it, guys. You don't have to worry about the hashtag #MeToo shit. If a woman doesn't want you, we all know. You know, we know when we're being pushy. I've got a boyfriend. Yeah, oh, can't we be friends? It's like, don't say that. Just leave. It doesn't matter. You know, just get on with it. And we all know when somebody doesn't want us, but in the majority of scenarios, you know, if you're mirroring a woman's body language, if you're getting closer to her, if you're willing to, not inappropriately touch, you know, it's not Donald Trump grabbing by the pussy shit, but if you're willing to touch like the underarm, you know, or I'm not talking about an armpit, I'm talking like where the tricep is or something, like cup on the underarm, you know, or a hand graciously going on the back or something like that, or grabbing her hand when she clearly is acceptable of that behavior. You know, these things are all normal and women like these things. And watch how close he gets here.
Yeah. My mother.
See the way he's leaning over again, guys. So they're actually now, you know, he has no problem with invading that. Now, a lot of women would call this manspreading, like you see on the train. I just call it dominant behavior. And she's very, very tucked in. This is important here. She's very tucked in. I know she's smoking a cigarette. You can't exactly do it out here, although a lot of French women hold it out there. It looks classy. But she's also got her glass here. You know, it's tucked in. Her hand is tucked in. Shoulders are very tucked in. Whereas, in contrast, if we get rid of this, we can see that, yeah, it's a masculine structure, but his shoulders are obviously a lot wider. One arm is out. Yeah, it's reaching over and cupping this here, but this cup is in her kind of zone, and he's reaching over and invading, and his shoulder and elbows are a lot wider than hers are, which, as we can see here, are tucked in, and I'd imagine tucked in under here. So his elbows are out one and out two here. It's almost triple the width that hers are.
Mother knew your mother.
And even though he's grabbed his glass there, we can still see he went straight back to an elbow being very much in her private space, and he still is covering his area. It's like being at the cinema when somebody's using the armrest and you're thinking, what the hell are you doing? You know, you use one, but you get somebody who uses both and it pisses both people off either side, even if you're with that person. And he's kind of done that here. We can see by the angle, okay? So her shoulder to elbow angle, I imagine, is pretty straight. You know, his is coming straight down here, and he's actually pushed hers inwards a lot more. And again, yeah, she's got a cigarette up here. It's a lot more confident, and her body language is fantastic. But again, the elbow's tucked. The elbow's tucked. She's taken up little space. The more space you actually take up, the more dominant, the more alpha, whatever you want to call it, the better body language that is perceived. Actually, something else I've caught here. He's not even looking at her. He's actually looking away, which eye contact is fantastic, but sometimes not paying somebody the attention can sometimes work wonders. Now, it can also be seen as weak, but it depends on the scenario. So I think if you're sat shoulder to shoulder, not looking at somebody or looking away can be seen as dominant behavior. I think if you were looking at each other, I think then it should be very strong eye contact. Now, if she's staring at you, she's looking at you, she's giving you all the attention, you can look away because the focus is on you and it makes things normal.
Start out to read.
Did she tell you the job?
Something happened here, okay? Watch his thumb. His thumb's tapping this glass. This is not dominant behavior. You shouldn't do this. This is seen as fidgeting. Now, they might be saying, okay, do this because it shows that you're restless, that you're on edge, that at any moment you could pop off. And it's dramatic for the film, you know, and the sound of a glass on a nail makes quite a cool sound. It's something that you could maybe use in a horror film or just before it kicks off. And I think that might be why they're doing that, but don't do this yourselves, guys. Don't fiddle with, you know, your thumbs and bang them on something on a glass, or keep banging your hands on a table. It shows nervousness, so they got that wrong here. Watch this.
Start out to read.
Did he tell you that John and Arthur...
Just look at the angle of that elbow. Now, you don't have to be a dick. You don't have to drive your elbow into somebody, but I'm just saying again, look at the space that this man's taken up. Ton of space. It's fantastic.
spared her life when Tommy wanted her dead?
Yeah. And now she's giving me the information about you people. So Tommy Shelby was right. His ruthlessness was justified.
And he's doing that tonality thing that I spoke about before in the Matthew McConaughey, the gentleman clip that I did on body language. He's doing the same thing here, where all of his sentences are going down at the end. Just like I did there, his tonality goes down, as in it's a dominant ending to a sentence. He's not going up like this, like California girls do. And that's a fantastic tonality trait. His pacing is very good as well.
You should have killed her when you had the chance.
And secondly, there's a whisper. I always talk to you guys about whispers. And notice as well, it's the first time he's actually made eye contact with her. And look how close he is. Look how close. Well, you know what? That's not how humans work, is it? He's going to go straight to the ear. Okay, so look how close the mouth is to the ear, and he's whispering. And she's actually, if you can notice, slightly tilted her head. Slightly, we can see there, to his direction. So, like I said to you guys before, when you do whisper, you get close to somebody and you whisper, they tend to lean in. They tend to pay more attention to what you're saying. It's very much a sales technique, but when you do it with women, make good, strong eye contact, I promise you guys, it works wonders.
John was a good boy. Arthur tries. Tommy's different. You take Tommy. Spare the rest.
That was a very slow head movement there, wasn't it? That was fantastic. The slowness of movement is fantastic. The slower that you move without looking weird, of course, the more dominant you look, because you're not hurried. You're in your own pace. You're in your own time. It's like, put it this way. If you were an entrepreneur and you owned your own company, you were a multi-millionaire, and you were late for work, you wouldn't run, would you? You'd still be taking your time. Maybe you'd buy a baguette before you went into the office. You'd be strolling around like you're the man. Now, if you're a 9-to-5 employee and it's your first 3 weeks on the job, you might be sprinting down that road, looking stressed, head spinning everywhere, checking your watch quickly, hurrying into the lift. You've got to give the impression that you're in control at all times and that you're the boss in every scenario.
You take Tommy. Spare the rest.
You know, my mother used to say this about you.
Again, more strong eye contact here. He actually looks away in a minute. I've watched this clip once, but it's very strong for at least 5 seconds either side of the look away.
She said that Polly Gray.
There, he didn't actually look to the side. He's looking down now, but when he looked away, he actually looked to the side. So that was pretty good. And I think he's not looking to the side because the camera's here. But yeah, if you're going to do that, guys, always look to the side, not down. Down is seen as submissive. Let the woman do that.
That child would never let go of agreements.
But again, he's whispering.
And she loves to dance. What do you say, huh? Wanna dance?
You can see just off shot here on the right, he's moving his head. I would have advised him as the director not to do that. I would advise when you ask a question like that, do you want to dance, or can I have your number, or I would then, or you want to come home with me, I would then hold that eye contact stronger than ever. And I wouldn't flinch a single bone or muscle. I would hold that eye contact until you got your answer. And then I'd be unreactive to either. If she said yes, no, maybe, or I wouldn't react. And if it was a no, if it was a yes or a no, to be honest, I probably wouldn't react for about 3 to 5 seconds. And then I would go back and sip my drink as if I was unbothered by either reaction.
I don't dance anymore.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I know, again, it's dramatized for the film, but never watch a woman when she's walking away. Very submissive thing to do. That goes for guys as well who are walking past a woman and then they look back and they stare at her ass like that. Like, just please don't do that. 50 Cent once said something about that. He said if a woman walks past and, you know, you didn't get her, she was looking at you smiling, but you didn't ask for the number, you didn't have the confidence, or whatever happens, once she's past your shoulders, she's gone forever. Don't turn back, chase her down. He was like, it's so submissive. You've got a small window, maybe a couple of seconds to wrap that up while you're face to face or walking past each other. After that, she's gone.
Because you're dancing with me.
And an almost slow motion sip of the drink. We'll end with this. That's a very cool line as well. Let's hear this again. Watch this slow motion sip of the drink. How slow he raises his arm up and how slow he sips it.
Because you're dancing with me.
And that's it, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I think there was a lot of different things in that one. I think that was a different type of lesson to the other ones that we've gone through before. I think there was a lot of things that you shouldn't do as well as things that you should do. I think there was a good balance. Luca Changretta is a fantastic character as well, so that was a good scene to analyze. I hope you guys have learned a lot from that. You can take that into your own lives. And thank you for watching as always, guys.